Not every game that lasts over 100 hours deserves that much time. But when it's truly great, you don't even feel the hours slip by. This list is for those who love losing days, weeks, sometimes even months, inside dense stories, complex systems, and worlds that seem endless. No filler here, only RPGs that grab you and don't let go, each in its own way. So get ready, because these 20 games aren't just long, they're unforgettable. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd really appreciate it. From one gamer to another. Most games age poorly, but this one gains strength over time. Oblivion Remaster takes Bethesda's classic and gives it the refresh it always deserved. You start as a prisoner with no direction, but quickly realize the world around you is massive, full of possibilities, paths, and hidden stories. Freedom is total. Want to follow the main quest, become a wandering mage, an elite thief, or just wander through Cyrodiil collecting plants. The choice is yours, and every decision changes how the world reacts to you. The remaster updates everything without losing the soul of the original. The graphics are improved, the interface is cleaner, but what still shines is the immense amount of things you can do. The guilds have their own plots, NPCs go about their routines, and every corner of the map hides a cave, a secret, or a challenge. It's the kind of game where you sit down to play for half an hour, and before you know it, it's morning. And yet, it always feels like there's something new to discover. The evolution system remains free-form. The more you use a skill, the better it gets. Simple, direct, and addictive. You can spend hours just training magic, learning alchemy, or perfecting your stealth. The game doesn't lock you into fixed classes. It lets you mold the character however you want. And the best part, all of this still works perfectly with a rich setting and epic soundtrack that made history. It's a reminder of why the Elder Scrolls series captured so many people, and why Oblivion is still so beloved today. If there's one game that redefined freedom in an RPG, it was this one. Baldur's Gate 3 throws you into the middle of a world shattered by wars, forgotten gods, and creatures that literally invade your mind. But the highlight here isn't just the setting, it's how the game lets you do whatever you want. Want to scale a cliff to avoid combat? You can. Solve everything with conversation, high charisma, and sharp responses? Also possible. Every situation has dozens of paths, and none of them are the right one. The campaign is long, dense, full of complex characters and choices that truly change everything. And not just at the end. The consequences appear throughout the game, in relationships, the cities you visit, even in who survives or not. It's the kind of RPG where it's worth making mistakes just to see what happens. And if you're playing with friends, get ready for laughs, chaos, and questionable decisions that turn into stories to tell later. Every playthrough is different, and you want to play it again just to try another route. The turn-based combat system, based on D&D rules, might seem intimidating at first, but quickly shows how versatile it is. Positioning, environmental elements, area of effect, spells, everything matters. It's a game where thinking is worth more than acting on impulse, and that makes each battle memorable. Besides, the graphics are gorgeous, the voice acting is top-notch, and the world feels alive in every detail. It's, without exaggeration, one of the most complete RPGs ever made. And yes, it easily goes beyond 100 hours. Few RPGs give you as much power to mess things up as Divinity Original Sin II. It starts with you being imprisoned in an empire that hunts magic users. But quickly the game makes one thing clear: you're the one calling the shots. You can create a character from scratch or choose one of the pre-made ones, each with their own drama, past, and unfinished business. And the most insane part, if you want, you can even kill these characters, and the game keeps going just fine. The world is dense and reacts to everything you do. Spilled poison on the floor? You can set it on fire. Killed someone important? There will be consequences. Used teleportation to cut corners? Congrats, you broke the game the right way. And the best part is that it doesn't feel forced. Everything is organic. It feels like the game was designed to give you real freedom. This goes for dialogues, combat, puzzles, even stealing and running when a conversation goes wrong. The turn-based battles are a spectacle on their own, with so many elemental combinations that it feels like real alchemy. Water with electricity, oil with fire, blood with poison. Each round becomes a brutal puzzle. And since you can use the entire environment to your advantage, you can solve tough fights with pure creativity. It's a game that respects the player's intelligence and rewards those who think outside the box. Long, deep, and addictive. One of the genre's greatest names by total merit. No light adventure or simple stories here. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous throws you into the middle of a war between mortals and demons, giving you the power and burden of being more than human. You start as an average warrior, but soon gain access to mythical paths: angel, demon, lich, dragon, and each one completely transforms your journey. It's not just combat bonuses. It's a total change in direction, story, and possibilities. And the number of real choices here is insane. The game's foundation is classic tabletop RPG deep rules, detailed character creation, and hundreds of ways to resolve conflicts. The combat can be turn-based or real-time with pause, and you'll need to master everything to survive the hardest battles. The builds are almost infinite, and assembling a team that works requires attention, strategy, and experimentation. It's the kind of game that gives you everything, but charges a heavy price if you don't know how to use it. The world is dark, full of moral grayness and decisions that never have a right answer. You deal with betrayals, sacrifices, and tough choices all the time, and their impact can take hours to show. It's a demanding game, yes, but also one of the most rewarding out there. Every victory feels earned, and every path you take opens new layers of the plot. If you want an RPG that treats your time as valuable, this is the right path to follow. If the first one was deep, this one dives even deeper. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire starts with a god literally breaking everything, and you being dragged back from the dead to fix the chaos. But now the setting is different archipelagos, port cities, and open seas, where you command your own ship and choose where the adventure goes. It's an RPG with an exploration vibe, featuring multiple paths, warring factions, and a world that changes based on your decisions. And all of this comes with absurd freedom. The foundation remains the same: detailed character creation, complex builds, and dialogues as heavy as the battles. But the game evolves significantly, offering a smoother combat system, in real time with pause or turn-based, as you prefer. Your ship is also part of the strategy, with crew, upgrades, and naval battles that require tactics. The map is massive, and the pace is up to you. You can lose yourself in side missions for hours before returning to the main campaign. The world is alive, full of distinct cultures, political stories, and ethical dilemmas that force you to think. No one is completely good or evil. Everyone has a side, an interest, a history, and the more involved you get, the more the game rewards you with real consequences. It's the kind of RPG where every choice sparks discussion. A true modern epic for those who want rich narratives, total freedom, and a universe that remembers what you did. Prepare to go from the heat of the tropics straight into the ice-cold apocalypse. Wasteland 3 puts you in command of a desert patrol squad sent to Colorado, where everything is covered in snow, violence runs rampant, and decisions have no clear right answer. The game starts with a disaster, and from there, every choice shapes the course of the campaign. You're not a hero or a villain. You're just someone trying to maintain order in a world that no longer has rules. And yes, almost everything can go wrong. The turn-based combat system is direct, tactical, and full of nuances. You form your group with unique or fully customized characters, setting attributes, advantages, and even tone of voice. Each weapon has weight, each position matters, and the battles become brutal puzzles. But the real highlight is outside the fights and dialogues, political choices, shady deals, and consequences that show up when you least expect them. And the best part? You can play all of this in co-op. Dark humor is a trademark, but the game also knows when to be cruel and serious. The missions range from chaotic to moral, and you never have full control of the situation. You might save one city and lose another. You might choose who lives or dies, and sometimes not even realize the impact right away. Wasteland 3 is gritty, tough, and captivating. A tactical RPG that hooks you through both strategy and the weight of your decisions. Forget everything you know about RPGs with swords and monsters. Disco Elysium is a different beast here. You're a failed detective, waking up from a hangover with no memory of your own name, in the middle of a murder case. But the mystery isn't just external. It's inside your head too. The game is all about choices, dialogues, and internal conflicts. Literally, your mind is divided into voices, impulses, and ideas that constantly fight each other. And it's these that define who you will be. There's no traditional combat. Everything is decided through conversations, skill checks, and interpretation. You build your character based on attributes like logic, empathy, intuition, and willpower, each of which changes how the world responds to you. You can be an analytical genius or an impulsive disaster, and the game molds itself around how you play. There's space for serious investigation, existential philosophy, sharp humor, and even pure madness. And the most insane part? It all works. The setting is raw, dirty, and full of melancholy. Reverie isn't just a backdrop. It's a character in itself, with a political past, social tensions, and broken people trying to survive. The soundtrack helps build this weight, entering subtly at the right moments. And the full voice acting of the final cut only heightened the impact of the dialogue. It's an RPG where combat is psychological, and the battles are against your own demons. And if you dive in headfirst, the 100 hours will pass unnoticed. Before many even knew the term tactical, Tactics Ogre Reborn was already setting the rules. This is the refined version of a classic of strategic RPGs, with everything fans love: dense political story, tough moral choices, and grid-based combat that doesn't forgive mistakes. You start in the middle of a civil war, and every decision carries weight, not just at the end, but throughout the entire campaign. There's no right or wrong, just different sides of an inevitable tragedy. The combat is turn-based, with positioning being everything. You build your army gradually, adjusting classes, equipment, and abilities of each unit. The difficulty is real, but fair, and every victory feels earned. The AI knows how to punish mistakes, and planning strategies in advance makes all the difference. And with the rewind system, you can test new routes and see how small choices change everything. It's challenging but addictive. The revamped visuals respect the original, but with improvements that make everything cleaner and smoother. The maps have layers, elevations, and obstacles that affect combat. The soundtrack is epic, as a war drama deserves. And what's most impressive, even as a remake, the game remains current, both in concept and execution. It's one of those RPGs that you start out of curiosity and end up completely invested in the destinies you helped write. Sometimes the battlefield isn't the most dangerous, it's the throne room. Triangle Strategy takes the concept of tactical RPGs to a level where conversations carry as much weight as swords. You play as a noble in the middle of a war between three nations, but brute force doesn't solve everything. Deciding who to support, who to betray, and when to give in is the real challenge. The choices are based on a conviction system, and often you don't even realize you're already walking down a point of no return. The combat follows the classic turn-based strategy. School height, positioning, and combined attacks make all the difference. But the difference lies between the battles, in the meetings and political debates, where every word counts. You need to convince allies, influence votes, and manage fragile alliances carefully. And the coolest part? Depending on your decisions, different characters join or leave your team, changing entire missions. The graphic style blends pixel art with modern depth, creating a look that feels like an interactive diorama. The music fits the tense atmosphere, with compositions that give weight to decisions and emotion to the battles. And most importantly, the game respects your intelligence. It doesn't simplify dilemmas, it doesn't give easy answers. It's politics, war, and drama in tactical format. Perfect for those who want something dense and long enough to get lost in for weeks. When the world ends, what's left isn't just despair, it's choice. Shin Megami Tensei V drops you into a post-apocalyptic Japan, where humans, angels, and demons fight for what's left. You become a Nahabino, a fusion between human and celestial being, and gain enough power to influence the fate of everything. But don't expect easy answers. This is a game where every decision matters, and none come without consequence. The line between good and evil is blurry, and that's what makes everything interesting. The combat is turn-based, but with the press turn system, where exploiting enemy weaknesses grants extra actions. This turns each fight into a tense chess game, where mistakes cost dearly and striking right makes you soar. The real charm, however, is building your demon team. You recruit, fuse, evolve, and customize creatures of all kinds, creating a unique squad that reflects your style. And since the difficulty doesn't forgive, thinking carefully before each confrontation is essential. The world is strange, broken, and full of layers. The areas are large, full of secrets, hidden paths, and bizarre NPCs that enrich the dark atmosphere. The soundtrack accompanies with electronic beats, epic moments, and constant tension. Nothing here is gratuitous. Everything feels designed to make you feel small, yet powerful enough to change everything. It's a demanding RPG full of sharp combat, rich world building, and narrative weight. And yes, it easily goes beyond 100 hours if you go all the way. Being a teenager is tough enough. Now, imagine being a teenager, fighting against the corruption of rotten adults, and still having to get good grades. Persona 5 Royal takes all of that and transforms it into one of the most stylish and addictive journeys in the genre. You live a double-life student by day, heart thief by night. Each day is a choice: study, socialize, work, or explore the mental palaces of villains to change their hearts. And time doesn't stop here. Every action has weight, and the game punishes you for poor decisions. The turn-based combat is fast, strategic, and a joy to watch. You build your team, fuse personas, and exploit weaknesses to dominate battles with style. But the real highlight is the routine. You'll build relationships, improve your social skills, and gradually create a complete hero. Royal adds new characters, areas, mechanics, and an entire new semester of content, the definitive version. And even after playing 120 hours, you'll still feel like you haven't seen everything. The aesthetics pop off the screen. Red, black, frantic jazz soundtrack. Everything pulses with identity. It's a game where even the menu is stunning. But behind the style, there's substance, social criticism, personal growth, and reflections on justice, desire, and identity. Persona 5 Royal isn't just one of the best modern JRPGs. It's a masterpiece that marks you by the journey, the characters, and the feeling that, yes, you can change the world. Or at least, your world. 8 protagonists, 8 stories, and a world that changes depending on who's in control. Octopath Traveler II follows the formula of the first, but improves everything: combat system, how the storylines connect, and even the setting. Each character has a unique starting point, with different motivations and paths that, over time, begin to cross in unexpected ways. You can start with anyone and shape your journey however you want. No rush, no fixed path. The turn-based combat is refined and dynamic, focusing on breaking enemy defenses by exploiting weaknesses. But the real twist is the boost system, which allows you to increase attack power or stack actions when it's most strategic. This turns each battle into a rhythm and timing game. Additionally, each character has unique abilities outside of combat: intimidate NPCs, steal items, hire allies. All of this influences how you navigate cities and solve problems. The visual style is a spectacle in itself. The combination of pixel art and 3D depth brings to life a world that feels like a moving illustrated book. The soundtrack perfectly accompanies each region, battle, and dramatic moment. And despite being divided into several stories, the game ties them together to create a complete picture. If you love JRPGs with sharp combat, exploration freedom, and captivating characters, this one easily delivers more than 100 hours of content without any filler. In a world where war never stops, each day lived is one day less. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 drops you into a reality where 2 factions fight to the death in endless cycles, and the protagonists are soldiers programmed to fight and die young. But when something breaks this system, a journey begins that goes beyond survival. It's about discovering who you are, where you came from, and why everything seems trapped in a pointless loop. The scale is epic, but the focus remains on the most human emotions. The real-time combat is deep and layered. You control up to 6 characters at once, each with a role in battle, and can swap between the mid-fight. The classes are customizable, and the combinations are endless. The fusion system between pairs adds even more strategy, unlocking special abilities and new ways to attack. Each battle requires positioning, reading the enemy, and mastering the team. No button mashing here. The world is gigantic, with areas that feel endless, filled with creatures, secrets, and hidden events. The soundtrack is cinematic, with themes that stick in your head and reinforce the feel of a desperate journey. And even with so many characters and systems, the game never gets lost. It guides you smoothly until you realize you're completely immersed. If you want an RPG that mixes emotion, action, and reflection, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 delivers it all on a grand scale. If there's one series that treats every detail with almost absurd seriousness, it's this one. Trails into Reverie isn't just a continuation. It's the meeting point of several stories that have been building for years. Here, 3 distinct protagonists share the spotlight, and you alternate between them to piece together a complete picture of a world on the brink of a new crisis. It's not just about what happens, it's about what each of these characters carries from the previous games. The combat system follows the series' standard strategic turns, free movement, area abilities, and links between team members. But the highlight is the Trails to Walk system, which allows you to switch protagonists at any time. This creates an interconnected narrative dynamic, making you see the conflict from multiple angles. In addition, there are side events, extra characters, and choices that shape the tone of each chapter. It's a game that rewards you for paying attention to everything. The world is rich in history, politics, and relationships between nations, factions, and figures you've already met or will now meet with great weight. The soundtrack and visuals create a sense of continuity, as if everything you've played before has been leading to this moment. It might be dense for newcomers, but for those who have followed the saga, it's a powerful conclusion. An RPG with over 100 hours that doesn't just deliver content, it finishes arcs with the respect they deserve. Teaching has never been so dangerous. Fire Emblem Three Houses puts you in the role of a professor in a military academy, where the students aren't just training for battles, they'll fight for real. You choose one of 3 houses to lead, and this completely changes the direction of the story. The craziest part? The students you train, support, and get to know may become your enemies in the future. And as time passes, the game forces you to fight with what you've helped build. The series' tactical system returns in full force, but now more flexible. Each character can change classes, learn new skills, and form bonds that affect performance in battle. Positioning, strategy, and affinity are key, and each mission feels like a living board game. Outside of battles, the calendar advances with classes, events, and activities that bring your group closer or reveal hidden tensions. Time doesn't stop, and every choice affects what's to come. The soundtrack sets the tone, going from calm to epic as the battles escalate. The characters are charismatic and well-written, and the game makes sure to show their motivations in depth. When conflict erupts, there's no clear right or wrong, just sides with different reasons. 3 routes, dozens of hours in each, and a post-game full of content make this one of the richest entries in the franchise. Easy to pass 100 hours, hard to stop after the first. Some indie games try to copy the classics. Chained Echoes feels like it came straight from the golden age of JRPGs, but with everything polished, modern, and sharp. From the start, you feel like you're not just repeating a formula. You're playing something crafted with care and intelligence. The world mixes fantasy and technology, dragons and mechs, and the story goes far beyond a typical hero's journey. Everything has weight, context, and twists that genuinely surprise. The combat is turn-based, but with an overdrive system that requires constant attention. You need to keep the energy bar in the sweet spot to deal maximum damage and avoid becoming vulnerable. It's not just about attacking for the sake of it. It's about playing with rhythm, choosing the right strategy, and changing tactics on the fly. And unlike many long RPGs, this one doesn't waste your time. The battles are quick, the menus are agile, and the game always has something new to show. The visual style is top-tier pixel art, with varied environments and animations that make everything come alive. The soundtrack complements the adventure's atmosphere with compositions that leave a mark without ever tiring. And the best part? The game doesn't waste time. From the very beginning, it gives you freedom, interesting characters, and a world worth exploring. Chained Echoes proves that you don't need a giant budget to deliver a real, quality RPG with over 100 hours of content. Light and shadow, past and present. Everything in Sea of Stars revolves around balance. Inspired by 90s classics, it takes the base of old-school RPGs and updates it with a modern touch full of soul. You follow 2 warriors of the sun and moon, united by fate and surrounded by forces threatening the world. But what catches your eye right away is the atmosphere, colorful, light, nostalgic, yet full of emotion and depth. It's the kind of game that wins you over in the prologue. The combat is turn-based, but with interactive timing, pressing the button at the right moment can strengthen an attack or defend better. This keeps things dynamic without losing that classic charm. Each character has unique abilities, and figuring out the right team composition for the right moment becomes part of the fun. The bosses are creative, the puzzles between fights are well designed, and there's no unnecessary grind. Every section is designed to keep the pace. The art is a spectacle. Pixel art with smooth animations, vibrant colors, and environments that look hand-painted. The soundtrack was crafted with as much care as the graphics, creating a magical atmosphere that accompanies every step of the adventure. And behind all the beauty, there's a story about friendship, sacrifice, and the weight of carrying something bigger than you. It's the kind of RPG that seems small at first, but delivers a 100-hour journey you'll remember fondly. No magic, dragons, or prophecies. Kingdom Come Deliverance II keeps its feet firmly in reality, with a medieval RPG focused on survival, politics, and tough decisions. You continue as Henry, the blacksmith who's been dragged into real-world conflicts. And now, the stakes are even higher. The sequel promises to expand everything: a bigger map, more freedom, more impact from your choices, and a world that reacts to everything you do. And the most important detail, everything is based on historical facts. The combat is technical, heavy, and requires precision. Every strike has weight, and button mashing won't work. You need to study your opponent, manage stamina, and choose when to attack or defend. Outside of battles, realism continues. You need to eat, sleep, care for your clothes, manage your reputation, and know when to speak or stay silent. All of this creates a unique immersion, where every detail feels part of something bigger. The game doesn't want to be easy, it wants to be believable. The recreated European setting is one of the richest ever made. Villages, forests, castles, and characters with their own lives. The soundtrack sets the mood with sobriety, and the visuals impress with their attention to detail. It's not a fantasy RPG, but that doesn't make the experience any less epic. On the contrary, the absence of magical elements only adds to the tension, because everything feels possible. And with the promises of a sequel, expect over 100 hours of a real world you'll want to explore to the end. Some games age, some evolve, and Skyrim simply refuses to die. From its first year, this RPG became a reference, meme, and starting point for millions of players worldwide. You wake up in a prison cart, and minutes later, you're already killing dragons and choosing what kind of hero or villain you'll be. Nothing holds you back. You can follow the story, ignore everything, and become a thief, mage, merchant, or just wander until you reach the end of the map. And it never ends. The combat may seem simple, but over time, you shape your style. Bow and arrows, dual magic, swords, shields, turning into a werewolf. It's all there to be tested. The guilds have their own quests, the world reacts to your choices, and each city has its own drama. You explore ancient ruins, face bizarre creatures, and discover stories hidden in books, letters, and dialogues. It's not just an RPG, it's pure freedom in the form of a game. Even after more than a decade, Skyrim keeps getting mods, versions, and new players. The soundtrack is still epic, the visuals still captivate, and the map remains one of the most alive and content-rich creations ever made. Every time you return, you find something you hadn't seen before. And that's why it remains strong as one of the only RPGs where 100 hours seem too few. Skyrim isn't just a classic, it's one of those worlds you always come back to, and always find a new path. In the midst of a collapsing kingdom, the chance to change everything arises, or watch it all sink for good. Metaphor. ReFantazio begins with a fight for the throne, but it quickly becomes clear that this story is about much more than power. You step in as an outsider, someone with no rights, and must forge your own path while facing prejudice, intrigue, and fragile alliances. Every step you take carries weight, and every choice shapes what comes next. It's not just about winning, it's about who you decide to become along the way. The combat mixes fast-paced turns with real-time decisions, in a system that demands attention and an understanding of the environment. Your abilities are tied to the bonds you form with your allies, and this changes everything, from your fighting style to your tactical options. It's an RPG with both mind and heart. The world is full of symbolism, but also life. Each city has its own rhythm, every place has its politics, and the environments change with the time of day and weather. The visual style grabs your attention right away, but it's how everything connects that truly impresses. This is a game that doesn't settle for being pretty, it wants to be remembered. And based on what's been shown so far, Metaphor, ReFantazio has everything it takes to become one of those RPGs that defines a generation. And tell me, which of these games have you had the chance to play? And what was the last game that kept you hooked for 100 hours? For me, it was Red Dead Redemption 2. If you could, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never have to wonder what to play again. I'm leaving 2 videos in the card, one that I selected for you and the other that YouTube picked for you. Just click on either one to watch. A big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.